What made you go full Karen mode? When my 4-year-old daughter came home from daycare with a black eye saying Miss Sarah did it, I thought she was confused. Kids mix up stories, right? But then she showed me how Miss Sarah taught her, mimicking someone grabbing her arm and shaking. My stomach dropped. I noticed finger-shaped bruises on her tiny wrist that I'd somehow missed before. I calmly asked the daycare director about it the next morning. She brushed me off completely. Children fall all the time. Your daughter is very dramatic. She wouldn't even look me in the eye, just kept shuffling papers on her desk like I was wasting her time. I asked to speak with Miss Sarah directly. She's not available right now, the director said with this fake smile. When I asked when she would be available, I got another dismissive wave. I'll have her call you. That call never came. That night, I did something I'd never done before. I hid a small recording device in my daughter's backpack, tucked inside her favorite stuffed elephant. My hands were shaking as I zipped it up, hoping I was being paranoid. I wasn't. The next day's audio made my blood run cold. Clear as day, I heard Miss Sarah screaming at the kids to shut up or else, and the sound of what was definitely a slap, followed by my daughter crying. Then I heard Miss Sarah's voice again. Stop crying or you'll get another one. I listened to the entire 6-hour recording that night. Miss Sarah called the kids little brats, threatened them during nap time, and I counted at least 4 separate incidents of what sounded like physical punishment. One moment that broke my heart was hearing my daughter whisper, "Please don't," right before another slap. I marched back to that daycare with my phone recording and the audio evidence. The director tried to deny everything until I played the recording right there in the lobby, loud enough for other parents to hear. "That's taken out of context," she stammered, but I wasn't done. I pulled out my laptop and started playing more clips. Other parents dropping off their kids stopped to listen, their faces turning pale. One dad actually started crying when he heard his son's voice on the recording. "Where is Miss Sarah right now?" I demanded. The director claimed she'd called in sick, but I could see through the classroom window. There was a substitute teacher with my daughter's class. I called every parent whose kid was in that classroom. The conversations were heartbreaking. Turns out 3 other children had been coming home with mysterious bruises their parents couldn't explain. One mom said her usually happy 3-year-old had started having nightmares and refusing to go to school. Another dad mentioned his daughter had suddenly become afraid of loud noises. We all met that evening at a coffee shop near the daycare. When we compared notes, the pattern was clear. Kids coming home with marks they couldn't explain, sudden behavioral changes, and one toddler who'd started flinching when adults raised their voices. The youngest victim was barely 2 years old. The next morning, we showed up as a group with our evidence. The director saw us coming and actually tried to lock the front door, but we were already inside. I had my laptop ready with all the audio files organized by date and time. "We're calling the police," I announced, "and Child Protective Services and the State Licensing Board." Miss Sarah was arrested that afternoon at her apartment. Turns out she had a previous complaint at another daycare that had been swept under the rug. The director was charged as an accessory for covering it up. By the end of the week, the daycare lost their license, and Miss Sarah was facing multiple counts of child abuse. The director's stellar reputation in the community meant nothing when faced with actual evidence. The hardest part was explaining to my daughter why Miss Sarah wouldn't be there anymore. She just nodded and said, "Good, she was mean to us. Kids shouldn't have to be that matter-of-fact about adults hurting them." 6 months later, all 4 families involved in exposing this won a settlement that helped pay for therapy for our kids. But honestly, the money didn't matter as much as knowing we'd protected other children from going through what our kids experienced. Sometimes being a Karen means being the only one willing to protect kids who can't protect themselves, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat.